Okay, let's start. It's a call to order. City Clerk.
Councilmember, Agency Director, Authority Member Christ.
Present.
Mann. Marcus.
Here.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Smith.
Here.
Mayor Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The invocation tonight will be done by Chaplain Wade Little from Los Angeles County Fire Department. I'm so grateful you're here. Okay, tonight we're going to have Junior Miss Lancaster, Kelsey Evanson. Kelsey, come on up. She's going to lead us in the flag salute, and then I have a presentation for her. Now come on around. Yeah, find out what it's like to sit on the throne. Come on. No, she can come around here and use my microphone. Okay? But did you see that? She was listening to her mother instead of the mayor. Good job.
Smart woman.
Okay, the flag's behind you. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. And then
Do I actually have to hold it? Or?
just say it loud.
Okay. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, don't go anywhere. We'll do it here. That way I don't have to walk. Kelsey Evanson has been honored to serve her community as Junior Miss Lancaster 2009. I probably should turn my mic on.
Probably.
How about that? Is that on? It's on. Okay. She has volunteered and participated in many community events, such as serving food at Race Resources, parades in various communities, Fire Service Day, Make a Difference Day, ribbon-cutting events, Chamber of Commerce mixers, work for Dog Tags for Kids program. Probably ought to come up with a better name.
Yeah, probably.
And many, many more. What I really like about the Miss Lancaster program is that the girls actually help us. They actually do stuff. They actually learn stuff. And they're always there for us. And we can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, her mother has started and developed one of the most sophisticated charter schools that I've ever seen, and she's doing it in Santa Clarita, and she's offered to come up and help us start one in Lancaster. So we're looking forward to that. Now, if anybody was wondering why we have so many deputies here, it's not because Ron's here. Jeff, you're starting to be one of the old guys. Some of you know, some of you don't know this, but we used to have an incredibly bad burglary problem compared to other cities. And it was these guys that figured out incredible ways and new methods and new technologies to make that go away. And they're quickly making us one of the safest cities in California. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. The comments that we get from people are just how safe they feel compared to what it was just a couple years ago. And quite frankly, I feel it too. I mean, you know, I rarely have anybody with me anymore, and I walk through any part of town in the middle of the night, and it's all because of your efforts, and we appreciate that. On May 13th, the burglary team received a call from a CSO, that's a community service officer in the field, who was taking a residential burglary report. That's one of the things they did, is they had the CSOs who aren't sworn police officers, who don't carry guns, who aren't out there arresting people, take a much more active role. The CSOs are now taking fingerprints and doing things of that nature, so that we have this team out there constantly. So if any of you guys want to do a burglary, you're in the wrong place. The west side of town has been hit with a series of residential burglaries. With the use of ASAP license plate reader system, the team located the residence of the burglars. Now, think about that. They got a machine out there that reads your license plates. It's pretty easy to figure it out, where they're coming from, and what cars were in the vicinity time after time. It's just incredible technology. They recovered 50 pieces of evidence from that location, 200 pieces of evidence at another location the suspect stays at. They have been able to identify 6 residential burglary victims thus far. They arrested 3 suspects and are looking for a 4th. How's that coming? Okay. And they have released $23,000 in property back to the victims and have about $36,000 of additional property booked. They believe the suspects will be responsible for up to 15 residential burglaries in the Lancaster area. The team worked through most Fridays and Sunday and their days off to get that done. And these guys really do that. They work for free. They are constantly pursuing these people. And the results are truly phenomenal. And on behalf of the city, our thanks and our love and our appreciation. Stay down here. I want you changing that around. Very good. Ryan Brown. Mark Madrid. Mitch Speed. For those of you who don't know it, he can sing too. He does the Star Spangled Banner. And Kelly Klein. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Tonight, we also have the Youth Commission. You all want to come up? Come on, come on. Don't be shy. Okay. Okay, you got your speech? No, come on. The City Council would like to thank the 2010 Lancaster Youth Commission members for their service this past school year. Tonight marks the end of their term, and we would like to present each member with a certificate in appreciation of their service. This year's commissioners in their respective high schools are Andrew Sinquier at Antelope Valley High School, I think I will read them off of this instead of the list. Found it. Stay right here. We'll just line everybody up. Okay. Yeah, next time. Oh, of course it's on the bottom. No, it's not. That's John Salazar. Oh, it was on top. That was me. Okay. Shanice Owens. That's where my kids are. That's why you're doing so great. Amini Rodriguez. Maya Poker. Is that it? Maya's from Jamie Castrillon. Come on. And Jamie's from Port City. Ready? Okay, great. Here you go.
I'd like to say a few things about our experience with the Youth Commission. Being a part of the City of Lancaster Youth Commission has been a rewarding experience. Starting last fall, I met several other students from high schools in Lancaster who share the same goals as I do. That is, to contribute to the community and its residents and to gain knowledge of the local government. During our time in the Youth Commission, we learned how to properly conduct an official meeting, learning motions and rules. We discussed issues that raised concerns and that were important to the community, such as bullying in schools, crime in schools, and how the state of California's fiscal crisis is affecting our generation. We even discussed fundraising opportunities through the Invisible Children organization that aids children facing violence in Uganda. In February, the Youth Commission dedicated itself to helping the Antelope Valley Dog and Cat Rescue Center by caring for rescued animals and helping clean the center to ensure it is a safe environment for them. Earlier this spring, the Youth Commissioners had the privilege to participate in the city's Youth and Government program, in which we were focused in a mock project with several other students who are even here today. From across the city, we all came together to work on a mock project in which we would design a revitalization of the downtown portion of Lancaster. We met with city officials and design engineers to develop a possible community center. In addition to hearing concerns from students who played the roles of residents, we worked hard to run a mock city meeting by assuming the role of city officials and develop possible solutions to meet the needs of the people by following specific city procedures. In all, I can truly say that I have gained a great experience, and so can we all, in all aspects of local government and as well as experience helping a community. Our dedicated service to the government and the City of Lancaster will live on through next year's Youth Commission and us as we go on to help our cities and other cities that we may live in our futures. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
At this moment, we'd like to go ahead and begin the awards for the Teen Spotlight Awards. These following students have demonstrated leadership in their schools and among their peers, and these students are being recognized in ways that they have excelled in areas of service or scholarship and other areas of special achievement. So I would like to call up the following people. Kelly Selmser. Sarah Larrabee. Robin Backus. Scott Stanek. Travis Thorogood. And Jin Young Cha. Congratulations, Teen Spotlight recipients.
Mark, we should hire that guy. He does it much better than I do.
No comment, sir. If any of the parents would like to come up and take a picture for a moment, you can as well, too, if you want to stay there. The kids are very happy about that.
Okay, moving on. All speaker cards must be filled out and submitted prior to the agenda item being called. This same rule applies if you wish to speak on non-agendized items at the end of the meeting. Following this process, did we miss one? Okay, well, let me finish reading this. We'll go back. Okay. Following this process will allow us to conduct a timely and orderly meeting. Thank you. Let's go back. We have did I miss one?
Spirit Ride. I believe we have a representative from a Spirit Ride that wants to present something to the council.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, how are you?
This is Evelyn White, and her husband Lowell White is a 68-year-old Lancaster resident who's riding from Fairbanks, Alaska, all the way to the Florida Keys, and he's doing this solo to build hope and to join communities. So this is a very uplifting experience, and Evelyn would like to present an honorary Spirit Rider jersey to Mayor Paris.
Yes, Mayor Paris. Would you come down, please?
She used to be a deputy sheriff, so watch out.
You know, Evelyn and I have a history. She was the bailiff. I was the young lawyer. Every time the judge would make me leave the courtroom, I seemed to have her hand on my arm.
That's right. So here we go again. But under very pleasant circumstances. Because on behalf of my husband, Lowell White, the Spirit Rider, we would like to present you with this commemorative jersey 2010, where he will be cycling from Fairbanks, Alaska, down to the Florida Keys. And that trek started just yesterday, and it's a trek of 6,000 miles. And because of your support and recognition and the interest that you have in the community as far as health is concerned, bicycling, and the overall health of the community, we want to thank you by honoring you with this jersey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you imagine 58 years old doing that? There's a few of us. 68. We should be ashamed.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Any items to be removed from the consent calendar?
No, sir.
Thank you. Any items we need to pull for speaker cards?
No. Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the agency's consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's yes with Kidman absent. Anybody want to do a motion to excuse his absence?
Yeah, I'll move to excuse Councilman Mann.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. We have a staff report on economic development from Economic Development Director Vern Lawson regarding R&B 1. Any speaker cards?
That's what I'm speaking for, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was JPH 1. No speakers cards.
You want to waive reading?
On this one, I'd like to hear just a synopsis.
I'll be brief.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're before you this evening to ask your consideration of an agreement between the Redevelopment Agency and a company called Adventure Corp. that I'll explain, and then Sierra Toyota, something a company that you're all familiar with. The essence of the agreement is the purchase of an operating covenant in exchange for allowing the assumption of a sales tax note. The site, as you see up here, is in the Lancaster Auto Mall. And many years ago, this was the home of Mitsubishi. You may be familiar with that. Originally owned, and the sales tax note was with Jim Hawes with Sierra Toyota. He, of course, now has built a new magnificent facility over here, and this site really became surplus. So in our continuing quest to make sure that the auto mall stays prosperous, we're proud to tell you that Adventure Corp. is going to be locating there. We're particularly excited about Adventure Corp., and we're particularly excited about this deal because it didn't take any new cash from the Redevelopment Agency, which is particularly good news when you consider we sent a check for $17,500,000 to the state, so we didn't have a lot of new cash. But the most exciting part is that Adventure Corp. is a new company that is a family-based company. They will be selling motorhomes in the business park or in the auto mall. This took a change of the CCNRs that I'm proud to tell you was unanimously approved by all the auto dealers to allow recreation vehicle sales in the auto mall. I think everybody recognizes the tough times we've been through, and we wanted to make sure that we had concurrence, and we did have unanimous concurrence. And then the Planning Commission has already all taken an action to amend the master CUP over the auto mall, which also allows for the sale of recreation vehicles. The Key family will be selling motorhomes by Born Free, Monaco, and Airstream travel trailers, and additionally Rexall motorhomes will be sold over there. They will sell them in the conventional way, but the interesting thing is they'll also have fractional ownerships. And you may be familiar with this concept. It's relatively new, certainly new for the Antelope Valley. I think there's a company down in Orange County that does it. But the concept is basically studies have determined that no matter who you are, you can't use a recreation vehicle 365 days a year, so why not have a program that you would only pay for the portion that you'd be using. And so that's what he's going to do. We're very delighted that this will generate a great deal of sales tax for the Redevelopment Agency, and we've cleared that. Sam's actually gone through the State Board of Equalization to give us a certificate to that effect. We're particularly excited about the Rexall contact because that will mean more motorhomes need to be manufactured in the city of Lancaster. And when you kind of look at the ripple effect and the synergy between these businesses, it's a win-win, obviously, for us. Tonight we have Jim Hawes in the audience, who is with Sierra Toyota, and Jim deserves a debt of gratitude because he's really pushed through the participation of all the dealers, which we're happy to see them working so cooperatively. Tim Fuller is also here indicating that cooperation. And then Sam Key's family is here, his wife Nancy and daughter Alyssa, which are very involved in the business and wanted to make sure it got introduced. And then additionally, Chuck Hoey is the broker for the transaction. So they're here to answer any questions, and actually now sitting in the front row, because there are a couple of rows left, and I also would be happy to answer any questions either.
Thank you. Any questions?
No questions. I'm just excited once again that our staff and our local business people have put together something like this. It's actually going to stimulate our economy and build the revenue that we need for the city. And I mean, right after Mr. Hawes has expanded his Sierra Toyota, that was a wonderful opening. And I know the other auto dealers here. We have Mr. Fuller here from Hunter Dodge, and I think everything going on in there is great, especially in these economic times. So hopefully the sales are up and everything's going good. So I'm excited about this.
Great. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt RNB 1.
I'll second it.
Let's vote. It's unanimous with Kinman absent. I got ahead of myself. All right, agency new business. We just did that. Okay. Consent calendar. Anything to remove from the council consent calendar?
No, sir.
Okay.
I move that we adopt the consent calendar as currently comprised.
Can we get a staff report on CC 12?
Yeah, we have to pull it in order to do that. Let's pull CC 12.
Yep, CC 12.
About the energy program?
Okay, with CC 12 being pulled, I'll move now that we adopt the consent calendar as currently comprised.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous with Kinman absent. CC 12.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. CC 12 is an item where we're requesting City Council authorize that the City of Lancaster could join in the Los Angeles County Energy Program. The Energy Program is really the result of Assembly Bill 811. Assembly Bill 811 allows for local governments to provide financing to qualified property owners for the installation of energy efficiency, water efficiency, and also distributed generation renewable sources. By that, what I mean is solar, photovoltaics, wind turbines, fuel cells would be included. It would be an opt-in assessment district that would be set up for cities that choose to participate in the county's program. It's an interesting program because basically what it does is it allows the residents of Lancaster to receive financing for energy efficiency and water efficiency and solar improvements to their homes using the tax bill as a method to pay for the financing of those improvements. The county's program is expected to start in September. The first phase is really only for residential. Some point in the future it's expected to expand to businesses. The county will handle all the assessment administration, the bond issuance, and the bond administration functions. The program is free to the city, and the city is not obligated to repay the bonds issued by the county. I could go into more depth if you'd like, but I think it's an exciting program. It gives the residents of Lancaster another option to go to solar and renewable energy.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good job. Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt CC 12.
I'll second that.
It's unanimous with Kim Mann absent. Moving on, the joint public hearing, here's staff report, City Manager Mark Bozigian on JPH 1.
Thank you, Mayor Paris and City Council members. Joining me today will be Barbara Boswell, our Finance Director, who will also participate in the presentation. We plan on giving you the highlights. I'm going to spend about 3 to 4 minutes giving you the highlights. Barbara will go into some of the dollars, and then we'll finish off with questions. This is before you today, and will be brought back on the 22nd for adoption, or possible adoption. Good things are happening in Lancaster, as you well know, but one of the things I was thinking before coming here is that most people, when they present a budget, do it with dread. Well, we do it with pride here. We really believe that with this City Council and citizen engagement and this staff, we're able to manage our finances appropriately and continue providing service to the public. And we're doing it when we are most needed, in bad times. Anyone can provide service in good times. In bad times, we're able to provide those services, and we're very proud of that, and I hope that comes out. The bottom line on this budget is it's a balanced budget. Revenues meet expenditures. It's on time, and it's responsive to the community's needs. It represents a 12% reduction in the budget from last year, and Barbara will go into some of the details of cutting, deferring, transferring, et cetera, but that's how we were able to do it. One of the things we're most proud of is this budget contains a 10% a 10% operating reserve and a 22% financial stability reserve. That's 32% reserve. That means that you have essentially 4 months of reserve in the bank. Why that's so important is for a host of reasons, as you well know. Just a couple of them. When you're managing on the razor's edge, you can't take chances. You can't provide new programs. You can't do the things you need to do. You're always trying to be risk averse. The other thing is that you need a financial stability reserve. If we had a major disaster and some of our sales tax generators closed, the feds aren't going to step in the next day and start providing us money. We need to provide those services to start with. So it's very important, and it's really unheard of in most cities. So we're very proud of that, and I know you are too. I'm going to briefly hit 5 items that this budget is built on. The first is maintaining service levels. Maintaining service levels means that we stay open hours of operations, that we keep our parks, that we keep our events, that we keep the streets clean. It's all of those things that the public has come to expect, and it's the core of what we do. It's done through ingenuity. It's done through your staff working very hard, and this is the best staff and the best group of people I've ever worked with at just meeting a challenge and meeting it head on and achieving the desired result no matter what the obstacles put in front. The next is public safety. We did not at all cut the public safety budget. In fact, it's been increased. And there's a host of things we're doing. I'm going to hit on a couple of the highlights. One of them is Neighborhood Watch and Business Watch. We're fortunate to have working for us our Public Safety Manager, Lee DeRico, who helped introduce community policing to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I know Lee is so shy that he's probably back there. But true community policing, the basis of it is we truly engage Neighborhood Watch, Business Watch, City Services, and the Sheriff in truly policing and helping the community. We're working with the Sheriff's Department on efficiency of their operations. We have a lot of trainees in the Sheriff's Department, 31 to be exact, and Captain Anderson and Don Doughton have done a wonderful job of pairing them with the right kind of deputies so that they're being trained properly in what we expect. We're using, with the Sheriff's Department, really working with them to use the data capabilities we have, which are quite honestly above any other station, so that they use that in their deployment, investigations, operation. We're working on the Sky Sentinel program, and we hope to have something to present to the Council very shortly on that, and other programs that we will be discussing in the future. One of the keys, the third key, is revenue generation and job creation. The nation's coming out of the recession. If we just sit back, like has happened in the past, we're not going to come out for 2 to 3 years. We are in a good position this time. We have ready-to-go commercial sites developed, and we have existing sites that could be refurbished. So our goal and what we're working on is ways to get that done now, whether that is fee waivers, incentives, et cetera. That's what we're going to do. We have every one of our employees working on revenue-generating ideas, some big, some little. That's how we get through it, and that's been happening since April. Two things that we're really working hard on, the Convention and Tourism Bureau. We're now able to keep more folks that come to Lancaster for all our events in Lancaster with some of the boulevard things that we can offer, and just by simply giving them better information on where they can go. Shop Lancaster programs we'll be working on. We're working on specific companies coming to the area, which we can't talk about now, but we will be presenting to you. And other specific initiatives, things like business-to-business internet sales, which could generate revenue. Solar energy, which you're getting a presentation or a proposal in July on ways that we could be in the energy generation business, making money for the city. And we're looking at really partnering with brokers that have international reach with both developers and tenants, and that will be before you in July as well, too. Financial stability, I'll leave that for Barbara to talk about. She'll be going over some of that. And then downtown Lancaster. We're not just holding in place, we're really pushing forward, as you well know, on downtown Lancaster. And that's not all the construction, just the construction you see of parks, the museum. We'll be having a groundbreaking for the theater and bookstore in a couple of weeks, or actually next week. But it's also programming, making sure that we have the programs clean, that we're already working on events. What we want is we want to have a major city event every month, and then pair that with community events, where the Boulevard Association or other community groups are putting an event on every week. It means being safe. I know that the mayor's made a particular priority on that, and is down there on Saturday nights walking the boulevard to make sure that it's safe. Well, we need to make sure that's safe. So with the Sheriff's Department's help, we're reorienting some of our patrols to be on the boulevard, so that is a safe area for people to go. There's a lot going on. That's a real highlight of it. I'm going to have Barbara talk, or ask her to talk about some of the dollars, and then we'll be able to answer questions for you.
He always leaves the fun stuff to me. Well, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I am truly pleased to present the highlights of the proposed budget for the next fiscal year, because it really is a good news story for us. We aren't having to present a budget that cuts services. We're not having to bring, terribly bad news. We are in a bad economy. We are faced with bad trends, but we're able to face those because we've done planning and because we've been conservative and during the good times. And so we're, again, reaping those benefits, and we are going to be able to make it through the year, barring any unforeseen changes. But, we will make it. We're going to have to work hard this week to make next year balanced and be able to present again another balanced budget. But it is a good news story, and we're pleased to present it to you. We actually have two budgets that are being presented and that you will adopt at the next meeting. One is for the City of Lancaster at $95 million, and the other is for the Lancaster Redevelopment Agency at $100 million. The budgets are proposed at 12% lower than the 09-10 adopted budget, with the majority of the reduction coming from the Redevelopment Agency capital projects section. The general fund, which pays for the majority of the services our citizens enjoy, such as public safety, park maintenance, recreation services, is proposed at $51 million. We're not recommending any general funds for the capital improvement program for this year. There is $2.3 million proposed to come from available fund balance, and that money will go to fund one-time expenditures. So when you factor in that's one time, we do have a balanced budget. Staff worked very hard and diligently to identify and eliminate or reduce non-essential items from the budget in order to present the balanced budget. We've reduced and or eliminated travel and training, office supplies, anything that isn't critical or contractually obligated to fund, we've taken out of the budget. We're recommending keeping the current 40 vacant positions that we have vacant into the coming year, and as additional positions become vacant, we'll take a look at those and only fill them if it's deemed necessary and appropriate. There's no cost of living adjustment recommended for employees in the coming year as well. As you're aware, we've incorporated long-range planning into our budget process for some time now. Our 10-year forecast provides us with the ability to project future economic trends and plan for them as opposed to reacting to them. We've also traditionally taken a conservative approach to budgeting, and it served us well during this most recent economic downturn. As part of the budget process, we typically review not only expenditure levels, but also our revenues and fees. In the past, we've brought to you a recommendation to adjust our fees by a CPI to keep them in line with the cost of providing services. We're not proposing any adjustment to our current fee schedule, as they are still currently in line with our costs. However, we have included an adjustment to our bail schedule, which is also known as our fine schedule. Over time, our fines have not kept pace with changes made in our surrounding areas, and they're no longer in line with these agencies. The court, which administers the fines, has requested that we update the schedule to bring them in line with our neighbor Palmdale. These fines are assessed for violations to the Lancaster Municipal Code and are assessed only after steps have been taken to try and bring the offender into compliance by the process known as notice of violation and given a time to provided time to cure. We've reviewed the fine schedules and have made recommended adjustments where we feel it's appropriate. With these recommendations, Lancaster's fines continue to be lower than our neighbor city in Palmdale. Any additional revenue that might be generated by the updated fine schedule will be relatively small, approximately maybe $50,000, and it has not been factored into our budget at all at this time. We also have several new fees that are being proposed for new services. Like any fees that we have, these fees are proposed at the level of the cost of providing the services. Those include a news rack removal fee, a code enforcement failed inspection fee, a commercial parking permit for street sweeping, and then the fee and bail schedule related to the proposed youth court. I didn't keep up. The Capital Improvement Program, which is the section of the budget that provides funding for the major projects that you can see happening around the city, is proposed at $13 million. Projects included are design and planning of a downtown parking structure, pavement maintenance, traffic signals, and the downtown roundabout. This concludes the budget overview, and I'll turn it back over to the city manager for some closing comments.
Very briefly, I think the challenges we face beyond what I think everyone sees are the continuing national economy and our economy. We can't take it for granted. We have to work to make sure our economy continues to grow. We face a real challenge from the state. We've written a check for $17.5 million. We've appealed that, but if we lose the appeal, we will have to write an additional $3.5 million check next May, which is not factored in. And because of the budget discussions that are happening, there's crazy proposals coming out of Sacramento that would harm local government and schools and local school districts, and we have to guard against that. And we have to keep focused. We've really tried to keep the focus on what the council wants, which is public safety, downtown renewal, citizen engagement, maintaining services, and we really tried to focus on the core. And citizen engagement has been critical for us, and we have advanced not just because of the work of staff or because of the city council, because we really have citizen engaged more than ever before. I'd like to take the final closing remark to thank Barbara Boswell for leading up our budget effort. While it truly is a team effort and everyone in the city is relentlessly cheap and looking at ways to save money, you truly need someone at the helm who understands money, and Barbara can say no to anyone if it doesn't make sense and has no problem doing it, but I also provide her leadership. I appreciate her leadership, and she doesn't just say no, but she figures another way to do it, and we're fortunate to have Barbara Boswell as our finance director. With that, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
No questions at this time?
None at this time.
I just have a comment. I just wanted to say what a wonderful job, and we're very fortunate to have Barbara Boswell here, the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers. She received a certificate from that, and that was quite an honor, and we reap the benefits. You make us look good. And the other award was Distinguished Budget Presentation Award to the City of Lancaster. So I just wanted to mention that, and thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Is it Sabatoth?
Good evening, everybody. I I came to live into Lancaster 9 years ago. As you can hear, I have an old Hungarian accent, actually from Transylvania. A good fighter friend of mine who lived here for 38 years and had one of the first jewelry stores in Lancaster, lived here 38 years. But I am here today not only as a Lancaster resident and who already voted today, as every single time I vote, but also to thank Valley Press, because without them, we wouldn't know today. They had 4 articles about this meeting. And it so happens that one who lived both under the fascist system of Hitler and under the Stalinist system under Russian occupation in Hungary, I can tell you that big government never brought any happiness as we want to achieve in America, and which I have successfully done by marrying a wonderful American woman 38 years ago, bringing up 6 kids and having 18 grandchildren and a number of great-grandchildren. I think, in spite of the fact that we were given a beautiful report on the budget that's coming up, that we have to vote against that budget. We have to vote for 3 reasons. We are having the biggest unemployment right here in Lancaster, bigger than Southern California, bigger than California, and one of the biggest in the whole country. Spending us will not help us. Spending us beyond our means will not help us. This is the time to cut much further back. We can cut back on all these plans to build a future energy system or whatever else is part of that package. I am for the future. I wouldn't be. May I have a half a minute more?
Yes, briefly.
Thank you. As a family member, I know that I have to help my kids. I am against raising fees. I am against putting hardship on the people who live here. I am retired, and I have served 25 years in international sales, and I have served 17 years working for the government. The state of California as a senior deputy commissioner of real estate. But again, this particular budget does not reflect the times we live in. The euro has lost over 25% in the past month or so.
Sir, you got to finish it up, okay?
I am just asking you kindly, take time in approving a budget where you do not pull in your belt. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you all, and may indeed his inspirations govern you. Amen.
Thank you. You have a question for staff? Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Bozigian, I know that we were looking at increasing some of the fines to sort of get a little tooth into some of the code enforcement and municipal codes that we have. Is that, what's the expense on that as income to the city?
As Barbara alluded to, it's probably less than, around 50,000, and it's not included in the budget.
And it's not included. It's not included.
It's not included in our budget proposal for 10-11.
Okay. Well, myself, at this time, I think I would like to set those aside for now and to look at them a little bit deeper, because I think, the knee-jerk reaction of everybody is that, the city looks to try to do revenue generation from them, and in reality, a lot of those fines is, supposed to act as a deterrent for unwanted behavior in the city, and that's why we have code and code enforcement. So I think we've done a fantastic job. The staff has done an amazing job. I mean, this is like the third year that we've cut time and time again, but still kept up law enforcement, added to law enforcement. We're still building. We're moving, doing economic development, and moving forward. So I think, unlike a lot of cities that are teetering on bankruptcy, we're actually moving forward. Did a fantastic job, but I think we need to set the fines aside for now and maybe look at them a little bit closer to make sure that when we come back, there's even a deeper report, if we decide to bring it back, that shows an actual correlation of specifically what the outcome is going to be.
I'm a little confused. I mean, budgets are supposed to balance. How do we take a piece out and approve the rest of it?
It's not in the balance.
We, being conservative, we wouldn't count that as revenue unless the council adopted it. So in next year's budget, that additional 50,000 is not counted.
I see. So it's not going to affect us having a budget?
It will not affect the budget, and we'd be happy to, at a future date, bring back
I'd like to avoid doing what other cities do and not pass a budget and use last year's.
That is our fervent hope.
Thank you.
Did you choose to raise the fines, or did the court request that you raise them?
The court has requested, now being real, the court has requested us, they talk about administratively, it makes sense and such. They also get a piece of that too. But we do have some fines that are much, much lower than neighboring areas, and they probably don't act as a deterrent. In particular, fines that are at $25. As the council knows in some of the presentations, in particular code enforcement, we go with a notice of violation and a warning, and people can cure the violation without ever paying a dime. But yes, they did ask us to raise them.
I looked at the fines, and our fines show that we're way behind both of our neighboring cities, from Santa Clarita and Palmdale.
That is correct in a number of cases.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I've always struggled with the idea that courts living off the fines. I mean, it gives them a vested interest in finding you guilty, doesn't it? Perhaps when we look at this, we might want to at least make some type of letter or public statement about just how undesirable that is.
We'd be happy to do a deeper analysis of it in the next budget year. We wouldn't be able to do it by the 22nd, but
right
after that.
No, and I would say, we could adopt the budget tonight. I believe that 50,000 is not in. Oh no, I mean we could give you direction tonight to go forward with bringing back a budget without that $50,000 increase, because I don't think it's balanced within the income anyway, and that would be my direction.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Let's vote. It's unanimous with Mr. Mann absent. Do I have to keep saying that, or is that once enough?
Once is enough.
Okay, so it can be unanimous from now on? Okay, great, thank you. CPH 1 was continued from the meeting of May 25, 2010. Therefore, the hearing remains open, and we'll hear the staff report from Public Works Director Robert Neal.
Hello again, Mayor and City Council. This is a continued public hearing from the May 25th Council meeting. In quick review, Waste Management is requesting a rate adjustment for the collection and disposal of solid waste and recyclable materials. Rate adjustments are provided for in our contract with Waste Management on an annual basis. Rate adjustments are based upon 5 cost categories. I could go through them, but staff has reviewed and verified Waste Management's cost information and the indices on which they're based, and agreed that Waste Management is entitled to a 5.4% rate increase to the residential and commercial services rate, and a 4.9% rate increase to roll-off services. This means that the typical single-family household rate for a 3-cart service will increase $1.23 a month to a standard monthly rate of $23.99. At the last council meeting, Sandra Persley of Waste Management committed to meeting with some of the council members to review Waste Management's support of community programs and public outreach. My understanding is that she has met with several of the council as well as the city manager. I'd be happy to answer questions, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, let's move on to the speaker cards. David Aber.
Good evening, council members, staff, and citizens. Some of the concerns I have, I looked at the staff report a little bit and stuff, but I'm concerned if there's going to be increases to the senior citizens. I think that seniors should be entitled to discounts, and that's basically it in a nutshell. That I think that the consideration for the seniors should be weighed in on this increase, and that there shouldn't be an increase for the seniors. Actually, I think that they should get a decrease. Thank you very much.
Lyle Talbot.
Good evening, Lyle Talbot, Lancaster. At the last meeting, I asked that the negotiations that were going to happen during this past 2 weeks consider raising the senior discount from $2 to $4, raising the composting, those who compost, discount from $2 to $4, and adjusting the people who pay the annual payment in advance. We used to get 5% off our bill, and I asked to see if that could be increased to 10%. And were there any negotiations or any discussion of those items, whoever did the negotiating?
The difference is for the senior, it's not $2, it's about $5.65 now.
And how do you figure that? It only says $2 in the last contract.
That's what my notes show. Do you have?
You're adding in the $1.23 or something?
Do you have that?
I don't see that on my bill.
I can answer, if you'd like, I have the answer. The proposed rate difference on this sheet that we have for single-family mobile home park service, 3 carts, is $23.99, and for senior citizens for the same fee would be $18.65. That's $5.34.
I stand corrected. How about the other 2 items, the annual payment increase for?
They were all looked at. I'll just tell you that Waste Management is a community partner with the City of Lancaster, and
did you discuss it with them? That's what I was trying to find out.
You have a $5 instead of a $2 discount now. $5.65, not a $2 one.
Now, I'm referring to those who pay annually.
Correct.
Mr. Talbot, you know, I'm sorry, but what the purpose of the public comment is to get public comment. The time to question the council is probably more appropriate.
Who do I address, sir?
Well, if you schedule a meeting with whatever representative you want to, you know I always meet with you. I've never said no to meeting with you. But what I want to discourage is having the meeting, you know, with 50 other folks out there who have other business. And so that's why we take comment from you. But it's not a discussion. Okay?
Well, I did have one question. Maybe it can be answered later.
I'll be happy to
Waste
meet
Management
anyone.
has been asking to be annexed by the city, and that's been going on for over a year. What is the present situation there? Anybody know? Thank you.
Well, ultimately, it will be the decision of Michael Antonovich, quite frankly.
Do what?
Ultimately, it will be the decision of our supervisor whether or not we actually go any further with that. He has the final say on it.
I'll address him then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lyle. Okay, that concludes the speaker cards. Any discussion?
I'll move that we adopt resolution number 10-32.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to new business item 1. And that's Bob Green from the Parks Department.
There are no speakers cards, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, I talked to the city attorney, and I might have a conflict of interest on this, and it's not finished yet, so I need to recuse myself.
I mean, we're not allowed to use the parks now? No, I'm kidding. Councilman Christ has left the room. Is there a motion?
Well, if it's we can waive the staff report, unless Bob really wants to give it, but no, I think it's a good contract, and we can move forward. Without dissent, then, I'll move that we adopt the lease agreement, the approval of revised lease agreement between the City of Lancaster and the Hawks Nest LLC for Clear Channel Stadium.
I'll second that.
Great. Let's vote.
Is there a speaker card?
And it's unanimous. Thank you.
With Mr. Christ being...
And if somebody would bring Mr. Christ back in?
Yeah, I will. There's a card.
Somebody have a card for this? Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
I didn't.
Come on down. Do we unwind the vote, or can we hear it and then decide? If we
Was there a card submitted?
What's your name?
Georgia Young.
It says here...
It's okay, whatever it says. If she wanted to speak on this, let's...
I'll fill out a card in a few minutes if you'd like me to, but I already turned one in.
Yeah, that's what it says, education.
Okay, good evening. Everyone knows there's an education problem in America.
See, it has to do with
There's
education.
already solutions on the books to fix it. First, we'll look at what is required from the governing board of any school district to provide the conservation of education. Secondly, we will examine the goal of the federal government in regards to education. And finally, we'll look at the legal sites needed to provide the money for education. There are ways to practice conservation of education, not only for this city, but for this county, the state, and the federal government as well. Educational Code 8750, which deals with grants, states, the governing board of any school district, a county superintendent of schools, the governing board of any community college district, and any regional conservation education center which may be established may apply to the Conservation Education Service for planning and implementation of purposes for conservation of education. Next, the following quote deals with encouragement of education. It is Article 9, Section 1, which states, "A general diffusion of knowledge and intelligence being essential to the preservation of the rights and liberties of the people, the legislature shall encourage by all suitable means the promotion of intellectual, scientific, moral, and agricultural improvements in education. The use of this code, as well as the use of the local arts education program, Educational Code 51725, should be used in conjunction to put tutoring, dance, music, drama, and more sports back in the schools in order to provide children and young adults with positive alternatives to drugs and gangs." Finally, under the Higher Education Act of 1965, Title IV, Educational Code 69766E, all states can request federal assistance. The Act states, "And the state shall not be liable to the U.S. beyond the amount contained in the Federal Student Loan Fund or Student Loan Operating Fund for any debts, obligations, or liabilities." In review, we looked at what is needed to conserve education. Next, we looked at the goal of the federal government. And lastly, we had a look at the sites that could be used to provide the funding to fix education. In conclusion, I have more sites in regards to this issue, and I'm willing to provide the solutions, but I need my local government to use the laws already on the books to implement the changes. Now, if you have any questions, but before you ask, the only question you should be asking me, Mayor Paris, is, do I want a job? Thank you for your time. And here, if I didn't cover it, here's 20 other quotes that will, for any section you need.
Thank you very much. Okay.
The record reflects Mr. Christ is back in the room.
Oh, Councilman Christ is back. We'll now hear on new business item number 2, Robert Neal.
Mayor's City Council, I am returning to discuss business item number 2 on the agenda tonight. This item requests that City Council authorize our city manager to establish a municipal utility under the Utility Services Division of the Public Works Department. The formation of a municipal utility would give us approval to seek out a variety of renewable energy opportunities and possibly leverage our status as a municipal utility to bring in long-term revenue sources. We have found that other communities have been successful in using their municipal utility to bring jobs and revenue into their communities. We believe that the Antelope Valley and Lancaster in particular is uniquely situated in terms of having a great solar resource, close proximity to load, meaning the LA Basin, and potential transmission development that has a municipal utility. We could become an exporter of green renewable energy. With your permission, we would like to explore the possibilities. On a related item, I expect that in July, we will come before you with an exciting solar initiative and revenue proposal.
Wait a minute, you got to be more exciting when you say exciting. Come on.
Well, this is going to be exciting next month, so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 speaker cards. David Aber.
Good evening again. I've got a lot of concerns with this. Recently, it took about 6 phone calls to get some weeds cleared, which is Mr. Neal's department. Ultimately, in viewing the staff report, it said there will be no added costs and or staff members. I'm all for alternative energy and the wind and the solar power that we have here in the sun, but I think we need to take a good look at this because I'm really curious to understand how we're going to move forward on this without any costs, exploring and or adding staff. So having laid that out there, if you guys can give me the answer to those questions, because Mr. Neal's people out in the yard told me that the reason why they couldn't clear the weeds out of the alley that they're building the 10-foot wall they started today is because of manpower problems. So it seems that we're going to have a manpower problem with this, so the staff report kind of leaves a lot to be understood. Thank you very much.
Lyle Talbot.
On NB2, good evening again.
Good evening.
Your first whereas is the whereas for the peace, health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Lancaster is deemed necessary. Lancaster expand, blah, blah, blah. Why hasn't this present and the past councils raised concerns about that power plant they want to build in Palmdale, this turbines, gas-fed? I like your idea of going for solar and wind for certain, but our peace and health and safety And our welfare is going to be jeopardized by that Palmdale power plant. And I've been trying since the first of the year to have this body speak directly to or communicate with the California Energy Commission. I spoke with the lady yesterday morning, the project manager in Sacramento, and she says she has not. The city council in Lancaster has not raised any questions about air quality problems with that project. And I've been asking for months at it. And I asked what the present status was of Palmdale's proposal. And she says it's in limbo while Palmdale searches for energy credits from somewhere. There are none available from the Los Angeles area.
Wait a minute, they're calling pollution credits energy credits now?
I beg your pardon?
They're calling pollution credits energy credits now?
They always have, sir.
They didn't like the
Not
cancer credit,
credits,
huh?
Okay. Well, they're searching somewhere, and I suppose that maybe it's somewhere over the rainbow because there aren't any available, and their whole project hinges on that. And today, Supervisor Antonovich's office called and requested information that I have, communications that I have had with you folks and with the California Energy Commission, with the regional planning over this issue. And they want to see all my comments assembled in writing so they can decide what they will do. And I'm here to ask, what is our council going to do? Thank you very much.
Before you go, Lyle, I want to know, what are we doing?
I had the opportunity just yesterday to discuss this at Beck's with Mr. Talbot, and what we discussed is that on the 16th of June, the people that put their EIR together, a Palmdale representative and their plume expert will be presenting to the Air Quality Management District at the request of Lancaster this information. We have 2 representatives on that body, and they had planned to do that presentation on that date.
Shouldn't we have this at least calendared for a meeting of the council for us to take a position one way or the other before we start breathing the residue of that plant?
We can, at the direction of council, we can certainly calendar it as soon as the 22nd or in July, whatever your wish.
What I don't want to see happen is the state approve this and we haven't even taken a position. I mean, we need to take a position before we allow this thing to be the tallest structure in the Antelope Valley. So this week, let's figure out the dates and get this thing moving, okay? And thank you, Mr. Talbot.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll now hear from the city attorney on new business item 3.
We have to vote.
Oh, we have to vote. Yeah, sorry.
I'll move that we adopt resolution number 10-36.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Now, isn't this a great vice mayor? He just keeps me on the line, pulls me back, makes it all happen. We'd be here for a month if it was just me, trust me.
For what?
Now we can move to new business item 3. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Not yet.
Mr. Wazigi, and I think it's you're presenting this?
Actually, our city attorney is presenting NB3.
Yes.
Our city attorney is presenting that.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, MB3 is a proposed ordinance which would establish a position of deputy mayor. This was first presented to you in October of last year, and at that time the council asked that it be brought back to a future agenda, and we've done that, and it's pretty self-explanatory and up to any action that you would like to take.
Thank you. Any questions?
No questions for staff.
Okay. We have some speaker cards. Yes. Yes, sir. Let me find your card. Mr. Toth?
I signed up for both.
You did.
Yeah,
you did.
I'll be very short this time, and hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. Like I earlier stated, this is time for belt tightening, and any new addition to the city even as a vice mayor, even though I realize that you cannot be everywhere. But like today's opinion page in the editorial comment shows, there are effectively 5 council members that have been elected by us, and you should have no problem, and they would be more than happy to go out in your name and tell your agenda to the people of Lancaster, because they know they will be voted in next time because of the contact that they are getting. To hire an additional person, I am against. Thank you very much, and please forgive me for having been so long before.
That's okay, Mr. Toth. Mr. Toth, I want you to be aware that the city is not going to spend one dime on the deputy mayor. Any of her expenses or salary will come from me personally. And as much as I love the council members and think they do a wonderful job, not one of them speak Chinese. And the person that I'm going to make deputy mayor does speak Chinese. She has been to China with me at my expense, and I intend on sending her back at my expense without me. Just so you're aware, this will not cost the city.
And how many will speak Hungarian?
Well, as soon as somebody in Hungary
I am
is
here
interested in
in
building
case
some
if you
factories
need
here,
one.
I will find a Hungarian deputy mayor. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Aber.
Good evening again. After reviewing the staff report, it indicated that the pay for the deputy mayor would be the same as the mayor, if I read the staff report correctly, and I think I did.
And that's zero. This mayor has never taken one dime from this city, and neither will the deputy mayor.
Well, the mayor has a salary. Just because he chooses to donate it back doesn't mean that there isn't one allotted for you. Okay, and I agree with the last speaker that there's 5 council members, 4 and you, so it can easily be covered, period. And if you needed somebody to fill a position, I'd be happy to volunteer, but I don't speak Chinese, so it seems as though there's a little bit of an ulterior motive here than somebody to attend local activities that you may not be able to make it to, or some of the other 4.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
So therefore, apparently, we didn't clarify in the staff report exactly what we were intending to do here. So I don't believe in the staff report it mentioned that the purpose was for somebody to be able to go to China. So if it would have been a little more descriptive, which I don't believe that it was, because if it was, I think I'd be hearing something from the other side by now. Therefore, it isn't as it's indicated that it's for things that you can't attend locally. Therefore, it does have its ulterior motives. Thank you.
Lyle Talbot?
Ditto, Mr. Aber.
Oh, Lyle, you're much more articulate than that. Gary Burgess?
Good evening, Mayor Paris.
Good evening, Gary. How are you?
Mayor Smith, council members. Well, pretty much with the information that's been pumped out here, it just took all the letter writing thing out of the picture here. But so I'll go ahead and get up here anyhow and just say that I don't think that you have ulterior motives. I'm going to contest that, or making a deputy mayor. But I do have one question, and I know never ask an attorney a question. You made that clear. But just like this, when you read the ordinance 944, what's on the city's page, but why do we insist on passing ordinances and leave off the cost? It just says that they'll be paid, it'll be set by ordinance, which I assume that's already in place, And is that so that if you don't put costs in there, it kind of becomes benign and people won't oppose it?
Well, if there is no cost to it, right, and the only way there could be a cost is if we passed a subsequent ordinance which would pay her or him, that would be before all of you, and we would vote on that issue if it ever comes up. But as of now, under this ordinance, she's not making any money.
Okay. And I appreciate that, because one of my statements, I don't have a problem with the ordinance that allows you to appoint or hire a deputy mayor as long as the funds come from you instead of the taxpayers, because we're undergoing these budget cuts, and the state has taken millions of dollars from the city, and I'm opposed to any ordinance that will cost the taxpayers use of their tax money to support such an ordinance. And I did close with the fact that if you decide to enact this ordinance, I would volunteer my services to act as deputy mayor free of charge for a limited time to test if this is a workable solution for this dilemma that you face. So I thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Gary. I don't think it's a dilemma, and it's certainly not something I'm bringing on board to do what a mayor normally does. But if you guys want this city to grow, and you want jobs, and you want the dynamic things that we're doing to continue, I need some help. By the end of this, I could have 5 deputy mayors. I hope I do, because there's going to be that many factories cropping up to give our people jobs. That's what it comes down to.
And I think it's a good choice if somebody speaks Chinese that you have that person to represent you, and even here in the city. So
thank you.
Say that.
Okay. Drew Mercy.
Hello, Mayor, Council members. Well, I'm already working for an elected official, so I won't put my application in, but I thought I might take a few minutes just to share what representatives for elected officials do and how it helps not just you as elected officials, but the community. It really comes down to 2 basic parts of the job in the community. One is acting as an ombudsman, working directly for an elected official with citizens, helping them with issues they may be having. There's always a lot of confusion with residents as to which department or agency they need to be talking to. Your representative, if you can help with that. In terms of the public relations, community relations part of it, I can tell you firsthand, there's no way, even for offices like ours that have a large staff, to attend every event. Any additional help in doing that is a good thing, not just for the elected official, but for members of the community. Oftentimes, because we can't get to smaller or less populated events, or events that aren't getting necessarily the media attention, doesn't mean that those events and those organizations don't deserve a representative from their government to take part and share that message of what they're doing back with elected officials. I can tell you one example. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of attending a scouting event. It was a smaller group. Scouting was getting some additional awards and merit badges. And about 6 months later, I was walking through the fairgrounds at the Antelope Valley Fair and saw the little shadow boxes displays that the scouts and other residents came up with. And there was a picture of me, giving a certificate on behalf. Now, that's not important because of me, but it showed that it was important to that resident that his elected representatives were taking the time, even if they couldn't be there personally, to show that what was going on there was special and an important part of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Mercy. Okay, any discussion?
I do. Because I wasn't here before, I'm not privy to the conversations and that. A couple questions as far as the need for it to be titled as a deputy mayor. Why a deputy mayor instead of a field rep for the city council? The other ones are the and/or clause that we have in it. And why don't we have a sunset clause to protect us with that as far as the payments?
Well, the payments, there aren't any payments at this time.
Well, what happens if something happens to you?
There's a few people that would like to see that happen. Yeah. Well, I would assume that you guys would elect a temporary mayor, or the vice mayor would take my position, and he would decide if he needed her or wanted to continue with her. And at any point you guys want to change the ordinance or not continue with it,
So if we had a sunset clause inside there, would that not also take care of that, to see if this does work, to see if it does go through it?
Well, you certainly could. If you want to sunset it the day I retire.
Do we have the microphones on?
My microphone is on.
No, you're hard to hear when you look the other way.
You can use one of my hearing aids, Lyle.
Got my own thing.
Okay. But you want to terminate it at the end of my next term, and then we can start it up again if I want to.
Just some type of sunset clause with it, that and/or clause?
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
The reality is some mayors, what they do is they kiss babies and they go to the Rotary Club and they, do stuff like that. And then they come in here and vote on stuff. That's not what I do. I would not have any interest in being the mayor of a city that's what was how I ran it. What I intend to do is to use this position to build this city in the most magnificent fashion that I can imagine. And in order to do that, especially at a time when we do not have a budget to hire adequate staff, we're down 40-some employees in the city, right? And every time I come to staff, they end up having to work on, more overtime. Not overtime, more overtime. This is the most overworked staff I've ever seen. This is my solution to it. I mean, we're not talking about anybody that's ever going to run for mayor. We're talking about somebody who speaks Chinese and who's an attorney. And, quite frankly, the city couldn't afford to hire her, is the reality of it. But if we're going to do something truly magnificent in the next few years, I need more help to do it. And I think they need to speak Chinese. Now, the staff knows who I'm talking about. She went to China with us, Perhaps you want to chime in. I don't know.
I appreciate the comments you just said, and I do agree on the overworked, and any help we can get, in particular, free help is always accepted, free and competent help. The person you're talking about, and I would leave it to you to nominate her now or at a future date, we enjoy very much working with, and she was a incredible asset to our delegation to China.
Any other concerns? And I'm fine with just terminating it at the end of my term. Okay.
Can you address the title as far as the deputy mayor, why it needs? It's my understanding that some cities use the deputy mayor as the city manager.
I'm not aware of that. There's just in very brief, you have cities that have a council manager form of government, and then you have some cities that have a quasi, and it's a title. I'm familiar only with the city of L.A., which has a deputy mayor for several functions. I'm not aware, although that doesn't mean it's not true, that some cities use that for city manager. I'm assuming that Mayor Paris isn't replacing me here.
Well, I can tell you she wouldn't be qualified to be city manager, but there are certain cultures where titles are important, and phone calls don't get answered unless that title is with it. That's just the way of the world. Anything else?
I just had, I guess my issue with this is that I'm struggling that we do have council, we have an elected council, and we have a vice mayor, and I understand that everybody's very busy. I don't know, I've talked to a few citizens about it, and they're not comfortable with it.
Well, if I was a citizen of this city and only got my information from Bob Wilson's articles, who, quite frankly, Bob, you didn't even call me on this one, and then editorials are written without any follow-up as to what has changed in the last 6 months in regards to the issue, I'd be pretty darn mad too. But now I'm telling you what it is. The reality of it is I think that this person in this position will enhance our ability to attract what we're attempting to attract from China. And quite frankly, I don't speak Mandarin. I don't speak Cantonese. She also has a dual residency. She has Hong Kong citizenship into U.S. citizenship. It's just too smart not to do it. And if we don't like how it's working, let's get rid of her.
Well, I have issue with the title deputy mayor. Ombudsman's has been mentioned, and I know from the beginning, I believe Henry Hearns, Bishop Hearns, and Mayor Roberts, both ex-mayors were named as ombudsmans, weren't they?
No, we did a mayor emeritus thing to go to the Rotary Club. Quite frankly, I'm not interested in going to clubs and meetings. I'm just not. That's not why the citizens here elected me. They elected me to do something more substantive. And if quite frankly, I can't ask any of you to get on a plane and go to China. I need somebody I can tell to get on a plane and go to China and do something.
Well, I guess what I'm struggling with is that we're talking about making a position for almost 2 years, the length of your term.
Or in any time, or until you want to change the ordinance. It's not a major process.
And what you're telling me is we're only going to maybe, use this person, maybe once a month or something like that. I mean, it's not something that's going to be an ongoing.
She has attended every meeting with the Chinese with me, every single one.
So she's only
going to continue to do that.
Represent you in a meeting where there's Chinese speaking?
No. We're talking about, never mind. You either want to do it or you don't want to do it. But if you're going to be afraid of a title,
well, maybe what I need to do.
Precisely why I need the title is because I need her to represent me. And they will not, there are a lot of people who will not receive her without the title. And it's a discussion we've had with staff, and I know every time we do something new and different, there's risks.
Right. There's always 3 stages to a change.
Sure. And as long as we have a newspaper reporter that is giving half the facts, there's going to be more concern. But quite frankly, I'm extremely disappointed that nobody talked to me about it before that article was written.
And this is maybe where...
If you would like to come up and speak, Bob, you can.
And maybe you and I should just have another discussion. Maybe we should bring this back next.
We're either going to do it or we're not going to do it. I mean, if you guys want to continue doing it the way you've been doing it, that's what we can do.
I just want to understand it more.
Right.
Okay.
We good? I just went with the information that was in the staff report that was provided, and that is the same information that's given to everybody else that is in the community.
You always call and ask me, and this time you didn't.
If there's more information that should be presented or given out, shouldn't it be in the staff report that's made available?
Maybe if I had a deputy mayor, they could check the staff reports, okay? I mean, quite frankly, it is an incredibly difficult, time-consuming job to do it correctly.
I'm not arguing that point.
And
I'm
what
just saying.
the voters have told me is that they don't want somebody who's going to sit in the office and come to meetings and have all the ego stuff that comes with being a mayor without doing the work.
I'm just saying what I reported was information made available to the public. And if more information should have been made available to the public, it should have been in the staff report.
Or it should have been in an interview. Most of the time, you get a lot of information in interviews from me.
But should I do an interview for every staff report that isn't adequate?
When we're going to be seeing editorials, I think that it's probably incumbent upon the press to ask questions.
I had nothing to do with that editorial. I didn't know it was going to be written.
Okay. I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying I understand why people are concerned when that is the only information they're given.
And that's the information we were given.
And that should have been corrected.
Okay. Just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Lyle, I love you to death, but you're not immune from being escorted out from yelling for the audience, okay? Okay? Thank you.
I respectfully and vehemently disagree with Mr. Wilson. We continuously get calls from media sources when they want additional information. Everything is not in the staff report, nor is it intended to be in the staff report. That's the purpose of the media, to explore, ask questions, ask different sides. We are very open with the Valley Press whenever they call, and if Mr. Wilson or anyone for the Valley Press would have called the mayor or myself, we'd have given any information. There is also some information. This is the introduction of an ordinance. Everything we're talking about is after the ordinance is adopted, which is nomination, appointment, all of those things. And we are always open to the media.
Anything else?
How about the Deputy Mayor of Foreign Affairs?
How about recognizing that we have a 17% unemployment? And it is not funny when we are talking about the ability to bring jobs into this community. We have peoples whose families are falling apart because of unemployment. It is the most serious thing I think is going on out there. And I want to do everything possibly I can do in every waking moment to fix that, because it is simply deplorable that 17% of our population cannot support their families. The only thing I see on the horizon, is China. If they build factories here, we can fix this. But if we do not get employment into this community, we are going to be a repository for all of LA's ills. And that's just how they're treating us. And we're running out of time, folks. You know, we've got to do something, and we have to do it quickly. And I might be back here asking you for 5 more. But what I do recognize is the city can't afford to pay for them. And so I'm willing to pay for it out of my pocket.
If I could, let me be clear on this from the time that I put it on the first time back in, I don't know what it was, October, and we've had lots of discussions about it, is that, even though there's an ordinance in there, even though there's a line in there that the pay would be established by ordinance, I can guarantee you that as long as I'm on this council, there would never be a paid position for that. We have commissioners that do a whole lot of work too, and they get a small stipend, but that's, and when the mayor approached me with this also, and we were talking about it, he wanted to fund it, and so I agreed with him that, this additional person that could help him out, especially with China and everything, was a good idea, and that's why I supported it. So, unless there's a dissent that somebody wants to call for the question, I'll make the motion that we adopt ordinance number 94. Introduce. Thank you. I got to put my glasses back on. Introduce ordinance number 944.
No, we actually can't vote on it until next meeting, right?
You vote on it tonight to introduce it, and then at the next meeting, you vote to adopt it.
And
You vote twice.
In that period of time, I can have her set up meetings with you, and you can talk to her yourself.
Are we going to add that sunset clause to it?
We'd have to do that now, otherwise we'd have to have a third reading.
That'd be fine.
So,
Sunset it at the end of my term?
Sunsetted in
my current term.
March of 2012.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll withdraw that motion.
Sunset it in May of 2012. The end of your term would be when the April election.
Okay, May 1st.
Make it April 30th or May 1st.
Okay, so I'll withdraw the first motion. I'll make the motion that we introduce the ordinance 944 with the addition of a sunset clause of the first meeting of May of 2012.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. Hey, it's unanimous.
It's an introduction.
Okay.
We're going to discuss this.
Thank you. Okay. City manager, executive director's announcements.
2 quick ones. I had the pleasure of participating in the first Lancaster bike ride this Saturday. It was organized by our Architectural and Design Commission, April Bartlett and her husband Rich from the Block Shop. It was an absolutely wonderful and enjoyable experience, more so than I thought it would. We had 70 people that rode, only 42 finished. But it was truly a great time to get together with folks, and I think it's just going to be bigger and better. They also do Wednesday night bike rides, too, and it's great driving through the neighborhoods and having people cheer for you riding through. So I just really thank them, and I didn't realize how big it was going to be and how important. It was great. The other good news that we have is that the first phase of the boulevard will hopefully be open this week or early next week. We think this week. And if you drive by now, the lights are on. The block and a half from Sierra to Beach and then halfway to Cedar, I believe is it. So progress is happening, and it's really fun to watch people when they can actually not see a picture, but see it on the street and see what it looks like. And the businesses have put up with a lot and have just been better than anyone could have expected, the downtown businesses. So 2 real good things that happened over the last week.
Mr. Bozigan, is there any way that we can have, like, the next time City Council, that we can have some pictures
Of the boulevard?
about the boulevard?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
No problem.
I'd really like to have seen some of the pictures on the bike ride, too,
Okay, we can do the bike ride as well, too.
with you and your little spandex and your helmet.
I wore a very tasteful shirt and some OP shorts, so I was...
Can you take a vote on that?
Can you find those pictures on Facebook?
I bet April has pictures.
Okay. I'm happy the bicycle program is up and running. We'll be doing that every month. Is that right?
We're going to be doing that every month, and people are genuinely excited about participating in planning trails and bikeways for the city. So could not have been a better introduction. We got 50 people answer a survey on the spot and got their email addresses and everything. So we're really creating a great group of folks that are passionate about biking.
When we finish the boulevard, are we planning a festival of some kind to launch it?
The whole boulevard? Yes, absolutely. We have a September and an October events.
Great.
And also, we're going to probably, Mayor Paris too, when we open the first phase, we'll do some kind of commemorative ceremony on the first phase, not a full-blown grand opening, but probably some kind of ride to commemorate it.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for you to address the City Council on any items that are not on the agenda. You'll find speaker cards at the back of the council chambers on the table. We respectfully request that you fill the cards out completely and print as clearly as possible so that if necessary, the council, the city manager, or city staff will be able to get in touch with you. As much as we appreciate your request to make comments before your 3 minutes begin, please understand your time begins when you start to speak. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. If you choose to ask a question during this time, any response by council will not extend your 3 minutes. When you approach the podium, you will see 3 lights. The green light comes on when your time begins. The yellow light comes on when you have 30 seconds left, and the red light comes on when your 3 minutes is up. We ask that you be considerate of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well. Following this procedure will allow for a smooth and timely process for the meeting. State law prohibits the City Council from taking actions on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to the City Manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Raymond Bauer? Have you missed me at the gym?
Yes. I have. Mr. Mayor, Councilman, staff, my name is Captain Raymond Bauer, and I'm the president of the International Association of Firefighters, Local I-25, and I'm a member of the Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department. Unfortunately, my job and the job of all 56 firefighters at Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department are in jeopardy because of a plan to eliminate outsourcing. Now we are fighting for our jobs and we are fighting for our lives, and we're asking for your help. There is nothing more than we want to do to continue our jobs at Plant 42, just as we've been doing since 1953. We are highly trained public safety employees. We are parents, baseball coaches. We are your friends, your neighbors, and we are your constituents. The Air Force has shown Congressman Buck McKeon a 2.3 savings over the next 5 years as the reason for we were chosen for insourcing. In these figures, they did not account for the infrastructure and the materials that would be needed that are currently provided for by the contractor. Already, there are plans to bring in 6 60-foot trailers just for the Air Force Administration support personnel. We are confident that the 2.3% estimated savings the Air Force showed Congressman McKeon for relieving our firefighters from duty can be made up in several ways, whether it's through contract renegotiations or adjustments to our medical benefits. Any one could allow the firefighters to continue their service with the United States Air Force. I can think of nothing more frightening than for me or my colleagues to be without a job at this time in the Valley when there's unemployment is 17%. I'm asking that the City Council come up with a resolution in support of the Air Force Plant 42 firefighters. After the rest of the members speak, I will be happy to answer any and all of your questions as it relates to that. And I'd also like to help with the resolution language. Thank you.
Thank you. James Ross. I hope one of you guys have a resolution for us.
I will.
Okay, good.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Captain James Ross, firefighter at Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department, also the Vice President of the Union. The Air Force has decided to eliminate our jobs next year, but eliminating the jobs of 56 firefighters at Plant 42 Fire Department won't provide the Air Force the savings that's needed or improve the public safety. Plant 42 firefighters have agreed to reduce their medical costs 5%, and we are willing to do more to help the Air Force achieve the cost cutting it is needed without eliminating our jobs. We want to continue the tradition of support we provide to the Air Force at Plant 42 because we are committed to protecting this important military asset. The public safety we provide is a result of our training, expertise, legacy, and service and commitment to the Air Force and the community. Excuse me. We are committed to negotiating a sensible plan with the Air Force to help us keep our jobs and cut costs. But right now, we are fighting for our jobs and our livelihood. We'd ask that you please contact Congressman Buck McKeon for most vocal supporter in the fight, telling him to support the firefighters at Air Force Plant 42. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Fletcher.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Richard Fletcher, and I'm a member of the Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department. The Air Force wants to eliminate our jobs, and they have said publicly that firing their firefighters and giving the work to civil service employees will give them a more stable workforce. Nothing could be further from the truth or, frankly, more insulting. On average, the firefighters of Air Force Plant 42 have more than 20 years' experience. That's stability. Among us, we have more than 1,000 years of service at Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department. That's also stability. More than 85% of the firefighters at Air Force Plant 42 are veterans. Of that 85%, a lot of those are Air Force veterans. Our training is unmatched, and our dedication is unquestionable. The firefighters at Air Force Plant 42 are fighting for our jobs, and we're fighting for our livelihoods. There's nothing more that we want than to continue protecting Air Force Plant 42. We've been doing it since 1953. That's stability. So we're asking to please support a stable future at Air Force Plant 42 by supporting the Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department. Thank you.
Thank you. John Jordan.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and elected officials. My name is John Jordan. I'm 47 years old and currently hold the position of Fire Engineer EMT at Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department. I've been a career firefighter for over 21 years, working with different contractors at Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department. In January of 2010, myself and other members and brothers and sisters of our fire department were informed by the U.S. Air Force that our jobs would be insourced by the Department of Defense and going civil service at the end of their current contract, which expires, would have expired the end of July, which has been bridged to December. So we basically have jobs up until through the holidays. I feel that there are many issues that need to be addressed by the Department of Defense itself. The fact that I will not be able to apply for my own current position in the fire department due to age restrictions. In other words, a maximum age of 37 and automatic retirement at 57. The fact that I am qualified, certified by the Department of Defense standards, and that I currently hold the position has not been addressed by the Department of Defense. Because I was not prior civil service, that puts me one step down from the members of our department who are veterans. The Air Force Plant 42 has been a government-owned, contractor-operated plant for 50-plus years. The value and experience and cost savings to the taxpayers will be lost. The quality of service and experience of firefighters and its own continued stable workforce will be lost, due to the insourcing, and personally my fire department career will be over. Our members have both fireground and unparalleled classroom experience. Certifications that meet and exceed the DoD's own standards. Most of these certifications were paid for by ourselves or provided to by the Air Force themselves. So the standards that are being determined by the Air Force are met by us, and they're being basically taken away from us. As Richard said, over 85% of our members are military veterans, going back to the Vietnam era to the current Iraq-Iran era. Due to age restrictions, civil service rules, experience will be lost. I encourage you all to adopt a resolution in support of Air Force Plant 42 Fire Department. Thank you.
I think that's it, right, Ray?
So I'll be happy to provide you with the resolution.
Is it
I
time
don't have
sensitive?
one here on me, but I will definitely
Is this
write
time
the
sensitive?
resolution. It's time sensitive to January 11th of 2011.
So next meeting's okay?
But, it's time sensitive to us because once they get the ball rolling, as the Armed Services Committee staff representative we've gone back to Washington 2 times, we'll be going back to Washington again the 3rd time, has told us that this is time, we can't let it keep going, so it is time sensitive. We've been really, really working on it. We could have come here sooner.
What I'm asking you, Ray, is it okay if we wait until the next meeting?
Oh, yes.
That's okay?
Yeah, we'll wait for the next meeting.
Right. If there's any...
I don't think that we could have the resolution on your desk and you vote on it before June 21st when we go back again.
Yeah,
If we could, that'd be great.
Yeah, we can do that.
You could?
Sure, why not?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, so I'll have a resolution for you before then. And then you'll be able to provide me with a resolution that I can take back with me to Washington.
Yeah, I just want you to write it.
I'll write the resolution. That's not the problem.
If you want any letters, I think I'm speaking for all of us,
I have a ton of letters. I got a whole folder back of...
Yeah, whatever help you need from us, we'll be happy to provide it. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Thank you.
Okay, Xavier Flores.
Take it over to staff, please. Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Pueblo Salud and the Arte Coalition are here today, surprisingly enough, to commend you and thank you very much for the wonderful work that's transpired over the last 6 months regarding TRL enforcement, the Tobacco Retailer Licensing Ordinance. 6 months ago, you passed a fee resolution and required tobacco retailers to pay a fee so that you could now fund enforcement of a TRL that had been on the books for 4 years. Since then, in the last 6 months, we know that Deputy Cooper has gone out to the community and has done 2 sting operations. We ourselves did one sting operation just recently, 2 weeks ago, and we did another originally in 2008. The 2008 Youth Purchase Survey concluded that 33.3% of tobacco retailers in Lancaster were willing to sell to minors. The last YPS campaign that we did just 2 weeks ago showed that 15.2% were willing to sell to minors. We think that the 2 sting operations that transpired right before us had a lot to do with that decrease. Now, we are in no way close to the 0% mark that we're all trying to achieve. But I think we've gone and made some wonderful strides here. So we're very, very happy about what we're seeing, and we're here to, once again, thank you. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the youth in the back had posters that they all drew up for you.
I want to see the poster.
We were told we were not supposed to show them to you, so they've got them hidden right now. But they said, way to go, thank you very much. They were encouraging in that they were also telling you and encouraging you to continue and not to stop, that this is no time to sit on our laurels and think that we've nipped it in the bud. We have not. As you all know, Dr. Tuso came to us and has expressed to us the horrendous health disparities that we're suffering out here in the Antelope Valley. We're dying of about 10 diseases at a rate much higher than the county norm, and every single one of those diseases has tobacco as a correlating factor. You as policymakers have to understand the importance of policy. We need more. We need much more policy before we nip this horrendous problem in the bud. So with that, once again, we thank you. We hope to continue working together.
Thank you. Thank you for showing me the signs. You got to put them down now because the city attorney's getting all worried about the next sign somebody wants to put up. So, all right, Patricia Karnst, is that it? And you're an RN, is that right?
My name is Patricia Karnstedt. I've been a resident of the Antelope Valley since 1974. I've raised 2 children in Lancaster, obtained a nursing career through attending at Antelope Valley College, and have watched the Valley communities grow in leaps and bounds over the years. I work for Los Angeles County as a registered nurse. I became oncology certified in 1993 after I lost my mother to a bout of colon cancer, and I've been a volunteer for the American Cancer Society ever since. Cancer has touched the lives of most of the people in the Valley in one way or another. Over 1.5 million Californians who are alive today have a history of cancer. The prediction of new cases in California in 2009 was over 140,000. Approximately 30% of cancer deaths are caused by smoking, and another third by diet and obesity. Each year, about 3,400 non-smoking adults die of lung cancer due to secondhand smoke. What about the children? This statistic does not include our children. What about the children who are affected by secondhand smoke that is caused by parents who smoke in their cars, who smoke in their houses, people who smoke in the parks and the places where they play? We have to be concerned about that. We know in healthcare that respiratory disease in children is on the rise due to environmental factors, and that includes the exposure to tobacco smoke. In February of 2009, I became a cancer statistic. Fortunately, the tumor that was in my left lung was diagnosed early, and I did not have to follow up with chemo and radiation. I did have to have the surgery. I was exposed to secondhand smoke during all of my childhood, and I lived with a smoker up until 1993 when my mother passed away. We nurses usually have a personal list of treatments, diseases, and surgeries that we decide we never want to get. How could I guess that I would face the diagnosis of adenocarcinoma of the left lung and have that lung surgery I never wanted? That I would have a chest tube? That I would have to wait for a pathologist to tell me my fate? That I would have to take narcotics for pain and go through the recovery phase of lung surgery? Now I wait nervously anticipating what the CAT scan I will have every 6 months for the next 5 years will show and what my fate will be in the future. Lung cancer is preventable. When we have the privilege of knowing our risk factors, how can we ignore them and continue to expose ourselves and our families to the risk? It's true that smoking is a right individuals may choose to engage in. It's not right that those who choose to engage in that risk behavior who choose not to engage in that risk behavior should be exposed against their will and become passive smokers through secondhand smoke. Who will advocate for our children who have no control over their environment? I know it's not the legislator's job to tell people how to live, but we as a society pay a big price for the risk behavior in the cost of health care and the loss of our loved ones. May I go a little longer? It is within the legislator's power to work to protect our children by limiting the access of cigarettes to our youth. We need ordinances to keep retailers from selling tobacco products around schools and churches and from selling to minors. We need higher licensure fees for tobacco retailers that will help pay for better enforcement of laws that are designed to prevent minors from buying these products. The use of chewing tobacco is becoming quite popular. I think our young mistakenly think that they reduce their risk if they use tobacco orally instead of by smoking it. Nothing is further from the truth. The incidence of oral, mouth, tongue, and throat cancer is increasingly increased with the exposure to nicotine in chewing tobacco. If you look at the gums of a tobacco chewer, you will see discoloration and the first-hand effects of the habit. We have the data. We know the risk. Please join us in the effort to make Lancaster an even safer place for us to live and raise our children.
Thank you. Ken Jones.
Mayor and City Council, I'm Ken Jones. I'm one of the staff members at the Lancaster Baptist Church, and I'm also a high school teacher there. And a few weeks ago, some of our students, and we continually encourage them to be involved in community affairs, took part in a sting operation under the direction of Mr. Flores. And we went out into the community, and the students came back quite surprised on how easy it was for some of them who were underage to be able to buy tobacco products. In fact, one of the young men is even here. He's 16 years old, stated to the man he was 16. They sold to him anyway, even without ID. What we're asking really from the church, and I know Dr. Chappell would support me on this, is to, right now there is no restriction on where a retail tobacco outlet can be located. I would like to see the staff maybe, or the council direct the staff to propose a conditional use permit where there are some distance or limitations on where these retail outlets can be located. For example, they should not be around hospitals, treatment centers, not around houses of worship, playgrounds, and schools. Right now, there is really no limit to where they can be placed. We did a great job with our alcohol ordinance and limiting where alcohol outlets can be placed, and it's made a difference in our city. We need to do that with tobacco shops as well, limiting where they can be located away from sensitive use areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Trench Kelly.
Hello, my name is Trent Kelly.
You one of the stingers?
Yes, sir, I was. I go to Lancaster Baptist School, and like they said, they did a youth purchase survey. Then they asked some of us to volunteer for it, so I volunteered. And they just had us pretty much going around town to several different tobacco outlets and go in there, ask them for a tobacco product, and then be honest with your age, and then tell them that you don't have ID, tell them you left it in the car, so you don't have any ID on you. So we went around to places, and honestly, I thought I wasn't going to be able to buy any because people around here with ordinances would not sell them to minors. So we went to around 10 places, and actually one of them, I went in, and the person asked me for my age, and I said I was 16 years old, and they asked me for ID, and I said I didn't have any, and they still were willing to sell to me. So I was kind of concerned about that, thinking that even with the ordinances, people are willing to sell. So like Mr. Javier said, that the purchase rate has gone down since 2008, but I still think that it needs to go down more, and there should be stronger ordinances for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Christina Reyes?
Hi, good evening, City Council members. My name is Christina Reyes, and I am Chief of the Tobacco Retail Licensing Program for the Department of Public Health. And I'm here today to offer the department as a resource as you continue to implement and enforce your tobacco retail licensing ordinance. Just to give a little bit of background, about 5 years ago, the Department of Public Health began to shift how they address the problems of chronic disease. Tobacco use, asthma, and most recently obesity, physical activity problems that arise, and heart disease and those kind of problems that arise from it. And what they began to do was they began to take a policy-focused approach. So, as you've seen in your city, that rather than focusing, and they still continue to focus on individual behavior change, but they're looking at environmental change. They're looking at social norm change, and tobacco has been prominent in that area. I was here 4 years ago before the council in August 2006 when the tobacco retail license was first adopted. And since that time, over 28 additional cities, 28 in the county, have adopted also a tobacco retail licensing ordinance. So you can see in the last few years, the movement has really taken on. The Department of Public Health would like to commend your recent efforts to increase the enforcement of your tobacco license. And I wanted to let you know that I administer the county tobacco retail licensing program in the unincorporated area. We have about 850 retailers. So it is a full-time job, and it's a lot of work. And I know here in the city of Lancaster, you have, I think, on average about 120, 125. And it's a lot of work also to manage those and monitor those retailers. And so, again, I just want to offer the Department of Public Health as a resource. We can help you with data analysis and tracking of the retailers. We can help you connect to your sheriffs. I believe Deputy Cooper's doing a wonderful job, but if he needs additional resources, I work with the Sheriff's Department, and we've been going out and doing stings in the unincorporated area, so I can assist with that. I can also lead you to statewide partners. If any legal issues may arise, we work with a statewide legal firm that if any tobacco retailers have appeals or you kind of need extra interpretation of your tobacco ordinance, we're happy to help you with that also. So we just wanted to let you know that we're here and continue the great job.
Hold on. I have a question for you, please.
Sure.
Mr. Bozigian, one of the things I know that some citizens have asked for is some changes in our CUP policies and everything. Could you tell me what that request was?
I believe it was the request to require every tobacco retailer to also obtain a conditional use permit, which would go through the planning commission or however you set it up.
Right. Does the County of Los Angeles have that requirement for every tobacco retailer?
The county, for the unincorporated area, does not. However, there are several cities in the county. LA City, I believe, is working towards a conditional use permit, and a few others. There are also a handful throughout the state. I can get some resources to you.
You're here representing the County of Los Angeles. I mean, the County of Los Angeles, and the request is to add a conditional use permit for all retailers. But yet, the department that you work for doesn't even have that requirement. So that bothers me a little bit.
Oh, right. And I'm just speaking on behalf of the department, saying that we're here as a resource to assist with your tobacco retail licensing ordinance. On the agenda also for the department is working towards a conditional use permit, but that's not something that the department currently has or that the county has.
I'm curious, do we have any research that shows the correlation between location and young people using tobacco? I mean, that seems to be like a knee-jerk reaction we have that we're magically going to fix something by moving it 1,000 feet away. I'd like to see the research.
Right. I do believe there are a few professors from SC and from UCLA who have done some studies. And I don't know offhand of which professors they are or which researchers, but I can get some studies to you.
Would you send the studies to me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Talbot?
Thank you once more. I'd like to read my comment that I made to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors on 1st of June, a week ago today, in Los Angeles, on agenda item S1, which was the boycott proposal of Arizona. Supervisor Antonovich said in one word, stupid. And they had two factions there, for and against, of course. But I offered something in the middle, and this is the gist of it, because Chief of LAPD says that illegals won't come forward to report crimes against them or crimes they know of that might take down a criminal. But there are plenty of opinions, my words now, there are plenty of opinions and suggestions/solutions to the immigration problem. Witness the LA Times that morning on Metrolink. I was reading letters to the editor, and there were quite a few opinions on there. So I displayed my copy. 5 letters were on that page. Until the federal government enforces its own law, let me offer my suggestion. Instead of boycotting Arizona, who just might counter with the reprisals, Los Angeles County and City could offer undocumented/illegal immigrants a carrot instead of a stick by offering bona fide informants of criminal act, bona fide immigrants a carrot instead of a stick by offering bona fide of criminal activity that they have knowledge of, a bit of security and relief from fear of deportation. A just reward might be some sort of assistance in obtaining a green card status quietly and anonymously without fanfare and fear of revenge from the criminals as they help uncover. Not to rely on their word alone, but tips that can be verified by investigation or prosecution. Sheriff Baca, who was there that morning, and Chief Beck, who was not, from Los Angeles City, they just might see some merit in such proposal, and the informant just might be instilled with a sense of modest pride for contributing to his new adopted community. A bonus, of course, of it may be encouraging others so inclined to help out. So if you publish the results of the project and protect the sources, and then we'll just have to wait and see if anyone will come forward. And I sent copies to the Antelope Valley Press. They took no notice of it. And also to Attorney General candidate, Mr. Cooley. I hope he wins the election tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Thank you, Mr. Talbot. David Aver?
He's not here.
Disappointing. Anonymous? We don't do it that way, folks. You got to have a name. I'm sorry, what? Okay, little stinker, come on up.
That's 2 cards. You can only have one.
And you only get one, so you can do 2 subjects in 3 minutes, okay?
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Can I put my thinking cap on so I can do this properly?
Whatever makes you feel better.
Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you to this wonderful guy here. I thought he was just absolute. And I'd like to say thank you for all your work. I've been watching you for a long time.
Thank you.
And these guys back here, they get very little credit for all the time that the Air Force does for this country, and I stand beside them. I am an activist known throughout several communities, and I am also, I'd like to post notice, I am doing a task force right now, a civilian task force on all of you. I have my own sting going right now as we speak. Otherwise known nowadays as an extremist. I've been saying for many years, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have not got my liberty. I've not got my justice. I got 2 minutes in your courthouse here. The fact of the matter is when I said I pledge allegiance to the flag, I didn't say flags. I didn't say and to the democracy for which it stands. I said to the Republic, meaning myself and you all. So we have a perversion in the system right now. And I'd be shell-shocked to see anybody come up here and testify before this mic that I'm wrong about what it says in the Pledge of Allegiance. I dare anybody. You can say all you want about me. I'm that extremist. I'm holding to my founding fathers and what they said about this country. Long before they came to this country, there was a guy by the name of Hobbes' hypothesis in 1651 that said, if the ruler doesn't protect my sovereignty and well-being, then all law becomes null and void. And so I hold you accountable to that. I want you to come here and talk to me sometime tonight about how a retired cop drug alcohol counselor could hit my vehicle that I drove one night and tore it all up, bent the steering system. And I'm going to do 5-day jail time in this county for my extremist views. I got some serious issues that take up more than 2 or 3 minutes of my time. And I've been to your office and you sent me a letter saying that you wouldn't represent me. You didn't say you'd never represent me, but I'd like some representation instead of having to do this all on my own under ADA 989.3, Americans with Disabilities Act, and I am burned, you can see it. I've lost my eyesight twice due to the stress that this government puts on me, and I love you all. I might have been very hard with my convictions, but I think that you all owe me an apology for the way you've treated me in your courthouse here, and I will have justice.
Thank you.
Will you come and talk to me?
I will be happy to talk to you, but you're going to have to call Natalia and set up an appointment. It's election night, and we're really trying to get out of here. Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you. David Gibson.
Good evening, gentlemen and staff and individuals of Lancaster. I'm coming here. I apologize for my dress. I was hurried this evening leaving my house. I was going to wait until the other individuals that I also work with at Plant 42 to have spoken. I represent the contractors, myself basically, that work in the Security Forces Department that's been at Plant 42. My stepfather also worked there for 20-some-odd years previously before me and retired with a Teamster pension. My grandfather and 2 of my uncles also worked at Plant 42. And when I came to Lancaster in 1982, I was told it was a great place to come and work. And earlier when I heard you speak about the fact that you feel it's deplorable that there's a 17.5% unemployment interest area in this area, it just kind of struck me because all I could think to myself was there's 64 members in the Security Forces Department. Of that, we believe only 8 are going to be selected or picked up by the Department of Defense. The rest of us, bye-bye. Nice knowing you. Because they've limited us to such extremes for whatever their criteria is that they still won't release to us information-wise. And we're basically left with no resource. As the people from the fire department were saying, we have very little to say in this matter. I'm sure that my fellow members in the Teamsters would be willing, as well as the fire department stated, to renegotiate a lower wage, do away with some benefits, give up whatever it is we could in order for us to all be able to stay and retain our jobs. I know that's what I was looking forward to. My wife is a little older than myself and has health issues, and the medical insurance is not something that's available to us. When we're let go, currently right now, the government, as of May 31st, no longer offers assistance to people in lieu of COBRA health care when they're inadvertently let go of their jobs through no fault of their own. So right now, we would be saddled with 100% of any remaining costs to try to continue health care after we're laid off. The Security Forces Department does not have the benefit of waiting until January 2011. As of July 31st this year, that's it. We're gone. There's been no bridge. There's been no discussion of an extension. They're not doing anything for us whatsoever. So that's why I myself came here just under the auspices of hoping that you could do something to help us as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully we can.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the speaker cards. Council reports. Marvin Christ.
On the Edwards Air Force Base Restoration Advisory Board, it's a two-way communication between the public and those responsible for the environmental cleanup at Edwards Air Force Base, and we meet quarterly. We talked about the Compliance Restoration Program, the Environmental Restoration Act, and with the successful closure of higher priority sites, they are starting to work on the lower priority projects, so it's a good thing. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Item number 2. Councilmember Marcus.
The AVTA Transit Authority, the board authorized the executive director to provide fleet maintenance services with the AVTA employed staff, and what we're hoping that does is keep the monies local. We're encouraged about that. The contract is currently with Veolia, but it will be now with all of AVTA. The TAC was increased to a committee size of 6 total members, and we're hoping that will work. It's the board heard a report on the fiscal year 2010 to 11 budget process, and the budget is balanced and basically.
Thank you. Number 3.
There's a written report in there. There's just some perfunctory motions that we had to do for some annexations of transferring tax dollars for the sanitation district and waterworks.
Okay, we'll now recess for the purpose of a closed session meeting for anticipated litigation. Good news or bad?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the council met in closed session under Government Code Section 54956.9 to consider a potential litigation, gave direction to the city attorney concerning that potential litigation.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Anybody have anything? We are adjourned until Tuesday, June 22nd, 2010 at 5 p.m.